Hi, and welcome to our show. I'm here live with Perrette Simpson and Richard Haskin, who are with Detur, the Detroit Touring Project. We're going to hear more about that. And thank you for joining us today. Perrette, in her own right, is a published author and historian, and she has penned a book called Live on the Andrea Doria. And Richard is also a very published and prominent photographer here in Metro Detroit. We're happy to have you both with us today.
Thank you.
Perrette, tell me a little bit about how Detur got started and what it is.
Detur stands for Detroit, Turin, which are two cities in transition, two sister cities officially as of 1998. And they happen to be my cities. My family lives in Turin, which is also called Torino in Italy. I was born near Torino. And when I was visiting them about 8 years ago, it occurred to me that the cities have so much in common. Art, culture, music, sports, but most of all, the automobile. And I thought, these are the two automobile capitals of the world. There has got to be some kind of collaboration, something going on. So this is when the seed was planted, but it didn't come about until very recently.
Interesting. And what do you hope to accomplish with the project?
What we would like to accomplish is to encourage and model cultural bridges between the two sister cities. We would like to create opportunities for artists, and later on in education, in industry, in commerce, so as to create global opportunities for all kinds of people, not just Italians. We especially would like to encourage young people to consider a global economy. And by providing two cities that mirror one another, we can teach children, we can model to artists and other people that there are global opportunities that can be had. It's not unlike Sergio Marchionne's plan to merge Chrysler and Fiat and become larger and have more resources, have a wider platform.
Very interesting. So this is basically an arts and culture type event or group, the Touring Project. Tell me a little bit about what types of things you plan to do with this. There will be obviously some art exhibits. Will there be film exhibits or that kind of thing as well, or what types of things will be going on there?
We're hoping so. Like Perrette said, that we want to expand this to different areas. It's already begun, actually, because my son's a filmmaker, and he filmed Perrette's documentary, and we had someone else locally edit it. And my son, Nick, he also had the opportunity to do a street art video in Detroit of different street artists doing graffiti, the more structured graffiti, not like gang activity. And so that was really exciting for him because he got to go through and explore more with some friends, and another friend of his, they created the music soundtrack. And so this was shown at a gallery in Torino when we were there. So that was a real proud moment for me,
I
obviously.
imagine. My goodness.
So they had the director of the Museum of Urban Art in Torino, and they had an artist that had done photographs of street artists. And then they showed Nick's video, and then we had a Skype call with them.
Fabulous. Wow.
Yeah, so
Skype is a great way to connect.
So that was really exciting. So there's an opportunity there. We're hoping our friends James and Francesca Iacobucci, who have their design and marketing team, Space 360, they're going to be working on our website. And so already there's some activity.
Excellent. Now, I understand you have an opening exhibit coming up, and when does that open?
I'm glad you asked. October 17th, a week from tomorrow. It's going to be at the Henry Ford Centennial Library in Dearborn at the Rotunda Gallery.
And what types of things and theme will that be for that exhibit?
Well, the title of the exhibit is Art Within Art, From Italy to Detroit and Vice Versa. We just had this exhibit in the launch of Perrette's documentary in late June, early July in Torino. And so now it's opening here. The theme of it is the influence of artists of Italian heritage on Detroit culture, on Detroit, I should say. More specifically, artists from the past, for instance, Corrado Parducci.
Certainly.
You're familiar with him. He did the architectural details on many buildings, over 600 of them. There's a renewed interest now. There's a documentary being produced about him. He did things like the Mayan Indians on the Guardian building, what a lot of people probably know. Also other public art from artists of the past in the Detroit area. The Michigan State Capitol, Tommaso Uglaris, in the Dome, there's the paintings up there. And then contemporary artists such as Sergio De Giusti, sculptor who was a real big help in connecting me with a lot of these artists. So I photographed them and their work. Also, I added another element because I was the cultural chairman of the Dante Alighieri Society for 5 years. We'd have artists come in and I'd photograph them, authors and filmmakers. So it's a little bit of all these things. And then a bonus, the Detroit Institute of Art was kind enough to let me photograph some of the Italian collection and place some of those. So more than just having an exhibit to try to sell your work, I really wanted to tell a story about that influence here. So by doing that, we had the exhibit here, which was the influence of Italian artists here. Took it to Italy, showed them there, told them how proud they should be that their fellow countrymen came here and did all this. And now we're bringing the exhibit back here.
Excellent.
Which is, it's really a perfect model for Detur, Detroit Tour and Exchange.
Right.
Because here we have a curator from Italy proposing something to an artist in Detroit. He carries out and realizes this exhibition, and I do the documentary on his exhibition. We bring it to Turin, and it has some success, of course, we're very happy to say, and then we bring it back. So it's the bridge.
Right.
And it's also, like Richard said, a way of showing that the Italian masters have had great influence in artistry and our community, and we are exchanging. We continue to exchange.
Very good. Now, when Detur first was conceived, what did you see that as, and how has it changed over the years or over the months?
Well, it's really changed from just the concept of some kind of an exchange to Richard coming up with the idea of the influence of the automobile on Detroit. And that would have been great, but it just didn't seem like the timing was right because Fiat and Chrysler were going through all kinds of negotiations. And then my friend who works for La Stampa in Turin, she proposed having a mirror type project where we would take like housing in Turin, housing in Detroit, cars in Turin, cars in Detroit, and show the mirror image, perhaps through photography or whatever other way. But then I think because the timing of the Fiat Chrysler and our economies being so intertwined, and then this proposal from Turin, it just all seemed to just kind of meld and make a lot of sense to do it now. So now it's starting out as a cultural entity, but we want to make sure that people know it's not always going to be just culture. It could be education, it could be commerce, it could be industry. It could be anyone who wants to make that bridge with the old world.
Interesting. Now, the first exhibit, however, that opens on October 17th is going to have artifacts from different Italian-American artists in the community, correct? Or is this going to be mostly a photography display of different art that's in Detroit? Or
it's completely photography, all my works. A lot of portraits, a lot of architectural photography, like right here, architectural stainless on 23 Mile Road.
Okay.
Which probably many people pass, I'm sure everybody comments on in their minds. And so there's things like that, and then also some of the works of people. But a lot of times, one of the things I'm drawn to is environmental photography, which is a term coined by Arnold Newman. He's a photography great. And what it is where you photograph someone in their own environment, like an artist in their studio, where the whole sense of place helps tell us a story. It contributes to knowing about that person. So in that way, I like to photograph people and they get passionate talking about what they're, or thoughtful about what they're talking about, and that's when I like to click. So there is some straight-on photography, but there's a little more interpretive photography. With the DIA, one of the conditions was I just shot everything straight, nothing distorted or anything, which, I mean,
No interpretation.
Right. Who wants to mess with Caravaggio? I
Right,
mean, you know,
right.
it's like, not me.
When was the Detur formed? What year?
Well, the idea came 8 years ago, as I mentioned, but we haven't called it Detur until last fall when I went to Italy and visited my family. And we were celebrating my cousin's birthday in a beautiful old restaurant. And one of the friends at the table said, I think Detur, that's the name, because we're taking a different road here. We're taking a detour from the past of just having artists be in their studios. So we thought that was really a great name for it. And so now we're going with Detur and Detroit Turin Exchange. So this just happened recently.
Now, when you mentioned Detroit Turin Exchange, are we then sending material over to Turin to be on display as well?
This was the first showing or first example of what could be done. However, there's a group called the Detroit Torino Jazz Project with Christopher Collins from Wayne State University, he's head of the jazz department, and Emanuele Cisi from Torino, who we've met both of them, we know them a little bit too. So they've kind of done something like that. Now all of a sudden, we know that the Rackham Choir is planning on going to Italy. So there's been some people asking us about that, some chamber music. So we're just in our infancy. So hopefully we can help connect people. We'd like to be connectors and not just like full-time promoters, but connectors. And I have to tell you, at the opening of the exhibit in Torino, there were 150 people there, and people were excited about Detroit. And they were saying, oh, of course we show a lot of the better shots, you know, too. But they say, oh, Detroit's so beautiful. Torino's nothing like that. Here you have castles and magnificence and Baroque architecture. So,
but we have skyscrapers, my aunt said. They don't have them. We have them in Detroit.
but people got so excited from watching the documentary and from looking at the photos, and it was really exciting. Another dynamic quality of the evening was Pierrette had arranged, she invited a lot of the artists that I photographed in Detur to go to the Birmingham Library and arrange a Skype call. And so we Skyped them in after their presentation. One friend of ours hadn't seen her parents in several years, and they were there, and they came out, so that was real joyous.
How interesting. A
journalist, Francesca Berardi, was there, we knew from here, and also Giulia Vola, who is a co-founder of Detur. She was there, and so it was just like beaming back and forth, and it was really exciting. Everyone seemed to like the idea.
So when we talk about Detur promoting the arts and culture, I'm assuming that not only is this going to encompass the print materials, but also things like maybe music and, I don't know, book signings, book readings, and different things of that nature as well.
It could be
maybe
workshops,
even
cooking, absolutely. Anything that's imaginable could be a bridge that's created.
It's an interesting
and it does
concept.
Not, thank you, it does not have to be just culture. As I said, it could be any focus, and as well as artistry.
I just had an epiphany. We didn't think of this as part of Detur, but Pierrette's cousin, Giovanni Del Ponte, who's an award-winning author in Italy, he connected with Elena Past of Wayne State, and her Italian class, they had Skype calls, and she had their students read from his books, which are kind of like a Harry Potter, Hardy Boys adventure type of thing. And so we didn't consider that part of Detur, but it was just another example with the technology and the ideas. Someone contacted Pierrette. She said she's interested in cooking. Torino's the home of slow food. We have some friends that have an agroturismo, which is like a bed and breakfast. And it's a farm location. They have cattle and all that, and they make the most delicious food. And we thought, well, what if she went and stayed at their B&B, went with Laura to the mountains and gathered flowers that are in the meal, that in
the pasta.
Yeah, I mean, so there's all sorts of possibilities.
That's interesting. Quite an undertaking. How many people are involved in the Detur project currently?
As of now, we have Richard and me and the Jacobuccis. That's Francesca and James Jacobucci, who have an enterprise called Space 360 in Royal Oak. And they are the advertising marketing component. But what's wonderful is Francesca is from Turin. So she's fluent in Italian. She, of course, knows the culture perfectly. So this is the perfect bridge that we needed. So they're helping us in the publicity aspect. Francesca did the translation for the subtitles in my documentary, so it could be shown in Italy. In Italy, we have 3 people. We have the curator, Loretta Del Ponte. We have an international art critic and economist, Paolo Turati, and his daughter is helping out, Giulia Turati. So, but eventually what we'd like to do is have specialists in all of the areas, whether it's choral music, whether it's education, whether it's commerce or culinary arts, so that people can contact them and create that bridge.
That's great. Now you mentioned the documentary. What prompted you to make the documentary?
I was asked to do so by the curator in Italy, and at first I thought, wow, I have 1 month to do this. I've never made a documentary. So I Googled how to do one. It was very helpful to be an author so that I could write the script. But Richard and his son had already gone out and done a lot of the filming. So we just continued to go and interview the artists. And what is really good about doing this documentary as an adjunct to Richard's exhibition is that it enhances it by showing the artists in their studios, by having the artists themselves explain their work. We've got Rick Vian painting away in front of the camera, which really amazed everybody at how the process is. We have Sergio De Giusti, we have David DiChiara from the Michigan Opera Theater, and Alan Darr from the Detroit Institute of Arts. So these people in their own words are talking about their craft. An exhibition is a visual conversation, whereas the documentary is a real conversation in the artist's location. So we consider it a permanent exhibition. It's a vehicle to continue this exhibition, whether digitally or on DVD, and to have people watch it over and over. So the artists can promote themselves by using this vehicle.
You can pick up a copy in the gift shop out here at Shelby TV.
Now, will the documentary be shown during the exhibition?
Yes.
Yes,
On
indeed.
a daily basis, or several days, or one day, or?
During the opening reception, but it's interesting you said that, because in Torino at the gallery there was someone there all the time. That it's going to be in a library now, so in between checking out books and things like that, there won't be someone to do that. But in Torino they showed it once an hour, so when people would come into the gallery they could watch it.
Sounds like a great idea. Sounds like a fabulous
you.
idea.
Thanks. It worked out really well.
Will there be more documentaries in the future?
I think so. If people would like me to cover what they're doing, I would certainly entertain the possibility. It's a creative outlet for me, and I
Very
enjoy
good.
that.
Very
It's
good.
the artist in me, and the educator, because I was a foreign language teacher for 37 years. So for me, it's a vehicle to teach and to create.
A little more about the exhibit, if you would. What are the hours going to be for that exhibit?
Funny you should mention that because I think it's open till 5:30 most of the evenings. I'm not sure exactly.
Okay.
Opening night is on the 17th, Friday the 17th, from 6 to 9 p.m.
The library will be closed at 5:30, so but it's open daily.
And it's
It's right on Michigan Avenue, right by Ford World headquarters.
that
so
opening.
it's easy to find.
The
yeah.
opening.
The opening is open to the public. correct?
Absolutely
Yes.
free of charge.
Free of charge.
Refreshments, and we want to add that we're very proud of the fact that both in the documentary and during the opening night, we have Michele Ramo and Heidi Hepler entertaining, and they are two of our artists in the exhibition in the documentary. So that just adds to the festivities.
Wonderful. I know he's an accomplished guitarist and just a wonderful,
love his
wonderful
music.
entertainer.
Yes.
He is.
His music is in is a soundtrack for the DVD.
Really? That's interesting. Okay.
And another guy, Peter Suave, who's from Livonia, Michigan. You're
Sure.
probably familiar with him.
Absolutely.
World accomplished accordionist.
Very accomplished.
He was in town, so it was great. He's in the documentary as well. So
Excellent. Now, will this exhibit move from Dearborn eventually? Will it travel?
we're hoping so. I mean, it's already been 2 steps already. There's been ideas for libraries. We've been contacting some companies, especially some Italian-American companies. I'll be passing the word. I'm the photographer for the Italian-American Alliance for Business and Technology, so I've gotten to know some of the people there, and then through the Dante I've known, and just from us being involved in the Italian community. So we would think that would be great if it could travel.
Very good. So Detur opens the exhibit on October 17th, and how long will it be there?
Until October 30th.
Through the 30th. So.
And there's a reason why we had that time period also, is because we wanted it to coincide with the 90th anniversary of the Dante Alighieri Society, of which I'm a member. Richard used to be the cultural chair, as he said, and we are collaborating with the Dante Alighieri Society. I have arranged so that the Detur artists can be part of their gala event on November 1st and be part of the silent auction. So the silent auction is going to be art-based, and I think it's a result of Detur.
Sounds like a fabulous undertaking. I think you're going to have a lot of fun with it too. It sounds like it.
Thank you.
So we're really hoping to get sponsors. This gets a little costly because we want to keep doing it. And I mean, I know I'll be doing my part in photography. It was very fulfilling to find the stories, find these people and talk to them and share that experience with my son too. But I'd like to expand that to other artists that have been around for a while, cast corridor artists. That there's a friend of mine, Donita Simpson, a photographer that I hadn't seen in many years. I just saw her. We knew each other from Wayne State. And she's been doing environmental portraits of local artists. And there's a woman, Gilda Snowden, who's just passed away a couple weeks ago, and I just thought, boy, it's so great that Donita took those photos. You feel like, just as you do with the Italian Tribune, I know I feel with my portraits, that it's a legacy project. It's a historical document about that person.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us today. I really enjoyed speaking with both of you. This is Marilyn Borner with the Italian Tribune, signing off for Shelby Cable today. Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing the opening of that exhibit.
Thank you.
Thank you.